It's hard to explain exactly what it feels like to be trapped in this cycle of financial pressure, like you're running as fast as you can, but the ground keeps slipping beneath your feet. Every morning I wake up with this gnawing knot in my stomach, the weight of bills, rent, groceries, and the ever-growing list of things I need to pay for pressing down on me before I even get out of bed. I'm 26 now, and I've been juggling this exhausting dance of earning, spending, borrowing, and hoping for a break for years. But it never really comes. When I was younger, I dreamed big. I imagined living in a cozy apartment in a city I loved, traveling when I wanted, maybe going back to school to get that degree I always said I'd get one day. I pictured weekends full of friends, dinners out, maybe even saving enough to start a small business, something creative and mine. But now, those dreams feel so distant, like mirages on the horizon I can never quite reach. Every step forward seems to get swallowed up by the rising cost of living. The economy right now feels like it's stacked against people like me. Inflation's outpacing every raise I get, and even when my hours at work increase, it never feels like enough to cover the basics, let alone save. Rent keeps climbing, utilities go up, and groceries somehow cost more every week. There's this cruel joke where the price tags on everything rise faster than my paycheck. It's exhausting to watch your money disappear before you even get to enjoy it. I work a full-time job in retail. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, or at least some of them. Most days, I clock in with this sinking feeling, knowing that by the end of the day, I'll be even more drained, physically and mentally. The stress piles up. Sometimes I feel invisible, just a cog in a machine that values productivity but not people's well-being. My manager expects me to be upbeat and friendly no matter how tired or anxious I am. I smile for the customers, but inside, I'm crumbling. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because I know I'm not the only one in this situation. It's just that this constant financial pressure makes everything else feel heavier. Decisions that should be simple become monumental. Do I buy groceries this week or pay the electric bill? Can I afford to fill up my car, or should I rely on public transportation, even if it means an extra hour of commuting? Should I skip that doctor's appointment because I'm afraid of the copay? One of the hardest parts is feeling stuck. I look around and see people who seem to be moving forward, buying homes, traveling, investing in themselves, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. But then I remember that many of them had safety nets, family support, or just better luck. I'm trying to build that from scratch, with nothing but my paycheck and sheer determination. Still, it's hard not to feel like I'm failing somehow. Some nights, I lie awake thinking about the future and what it could hold. I want to believe there's a way out of this financial grind, but the weight of uncertainty makes me hold back. I've postponed so many things, going back to school, moving to a better neighborhood, even small treats like eating out or buying new clothes. Every no feels like a piece of my happiness chipped away. To cope, I've learned to be hyper-aware of my spending. Every purchase is scrutinized, no impulsive buys, no luxury splurges. I've gotten good at stretching a dollar, clipping coupons, cooking at home, and hunting down sales. Sometimes I pick up extra shifts or freelance gigs, but those come with their own exhaustion and don't always add up to much. I remind myself to be grateful for what I have, but some days, gratitude feels like a thin bandage over a deep wound. I'm also learning to talk about money more openly, which used to terrify me. I share my struggles with close friends who get it, and that helps ease the isolation. We swap tips on budgeting apps, support each other through tough times, and dream together about a better life. It's a small comfort, but it makes me feel less alone in this. Despite all this, I still cling to hope. I believe that if I keep working hard and stay disciplined, eventually the pieces will come together. I'm trying to build skills, save a little when I can, and keep an eye out for opportunities to improve my situation. I want to break free from this cycle, not just for me but so I can support my family someday. But sometimes, the future feels so uncertain it's hard to breathe. The system feels rigged, designed for people to just get by, not to thrive. It's exhausting to live in a world where expenses rise faster than income, where financial stress colors every decision and clouds every dream. Yet, here I am, still moving forward, still hoping, still fighting for a life where I'm not defined by the struggle but by the strength it's given me. I'm tired, yes. But I'm also determined. And maybe that's enough to keep going, for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I never thought I'd feel this way, like I'm caught in a slow, tightening noose made of bills, rent, and endless expenses. But here I am, sitting in my tiny apartment, the hum of the old radiator filling the silence, wondering how it all got so overwhelming. I'm 27, supposedly in the prime of my life, but it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. The first time I truly felt the weight of financial pressure was after college. I graduated with a decent degree and a handful of student loans I thought I could manage. Back then, the idea of making it seemed simple: get a job, pay bills, maybe have some fun, and build a life. But reality quickly shoved that fantasy aside. The economy shifted in ways I hadn't expected. Rent prices climbed faster than my paycheck, groceries felt like luxury items, and any savings I tried to build slipped through my fingers like sand. It wasn't just me, I saw friends struggling too, all of us stuck in a system where the cost of living kept growing faster than our incomes. Every month is a battle. I start by laying out my income and listing my fixed expenses: rent, utilities, minimum payments on credit cards I never wanted but fell into because of emergencies, and the student loan bill that feels like it will follow me forever. Then come the variable costs: groceries, transportation, the occasional medicine or doctor visit. Even small things feel like monumental decisions. Do I buy the generic brand or the familiar one? Can I afford to get the bus this week or should I walk? Should I skip dinner out with friends to save those extra $20, even though I desperately want the company? Sometimes I catch myself doing the math for hours in my head, like a broken record looping: can I make it through this month without overdrawing? The anxiety that comes with that question is suffocating. I lie awake at night thinking about what happens if something unexpected happens: a car breakdown, a medical bill, or losing my job. Those scenarios aren't just hypothetical, they're very real threats looming over me. It's a strange kind of exhaustion, this constant financial stress. It's not just about the money, it's the feeling of being trapped. Like I'm running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. No matter how hard I work or how tight I hold my budget, I'm stuck on a treadmill that won't stop. The system isn't designed for people like me, young adults trying to carve out a life in an economy that's rigged against steady growth and fair wages. I remember the dreams I had when I was younger. I wanted to travel, maybe start my own business one day, or just live comfortably without counting every cent. But those dreams feel distant now. I postponed a lot, put off buying a car, delayed moving to a better neighborhood, even stopped thinking about owning a home. I've learned to lower my expectations, and that's one of the hardest adjustments. It's like giving up parts of yourself just to survive. Coping has become an art form. I've started cutting out everything non-essential: no more streaming subscriptions, no new clothes unless absolutely necessary, and I try to cook at home even when I'm too tired to stand in the kitchen. Sometimes, I work overtime, though it doesn't always help much because of taxes and the extra costs that come with more work hours. I also lean on friends when I can, but even those relationships get strained when money is always the elephant in the room. I hate feeling like a burden, so I keep a lot of it inside. There's this quiet shame that comes with financial pressure, like I'm failing in some fundamental way. People around me seem to have their lives together, buying homes, traveling, getting promotions. I know everyone's fighting their own battles, but it's hard not to compare. Social media only makes it worse. It's full of highlight reels that make me feel like I'm stuck in a slow-motion struggle that no one else seems to have. Still, I hold on to hope. Maybe it's naive, but I believe there has to be a way out. I remind myself of the small wins, the weeks when I manage to save a little, the job applications I send out, the new skills I learn online for free. I try to focus on the future even though it's hard to see clearly through the fog of bills and deadlines. What keeps me going is the vision of a different life. One where I'm not constantly counting dollars but using money as a tool to create freedom and joy. A life where I can travel without stressing over exchange rates, where I can afford to take care of myself without sacrificing essentials, and maybe one day, own a small place to call home. But until then, I'm here, fighting the invisible battles, making tough choices, and trying to stay hopeful. It's messy, it's exhausting, and it's often lonely, but it's my reality. And somehow, I'm still moving forward, even if it feels like one small, cautious step at a time. I never thought I'd be here, feeling like I'm drowning in a sea of bills and prices that keep climbing, while my paycheck stays stubbornly flat. It's exhausting, and honestly, some days it just feels hopeless. I'm 27 now, living paycheck to paycheck, caught in this cycle that's hard to describe unless you're living it. It's like you're running a race, but the finish line keeps moving further away, no matter how fast you run. I grew up in a middle-class household where my parents always stressed the importance of saving and budgeting. They wanted me to have a secure future. I believed that if I worked hard and made smart choices, I'd be fine. But reality has been so different. The economy feels like this giant, invisible force that's pushing me down every day. Rent keeps rising, sometimes it feels like I'm just paying to keep a roof over my head, with nothing left for anything else. Groceries cost more. Transportation costs more. Even small things, like a night out or a coffee with a friend, feel like luxuries I can't afford anymore. Every month, I carefully lay out my expenses, trying to predict where the money will go. And every month, I get a little bit more anxious when I see that the numbers don't add up the way I hoped. I've had to cut back on so many things I once took for granted. I don't travel anymore. I don't buy new clothes unless I absolutely have to. I stopped going to the gym and now just try to exercise at home because even a gym membership feels like a strain on my budget. It's the little things that sting the most. Like last week, my phone died, and I had to decide between repairing it or buying groceries for a couple more days. I chose groceries. I used an old flip phone I found in a drawer for a few days. That's not the life I imagined at 27. The hardest part is feeling trapped. There's this constant pressure, like I'm stuck in a system designed to keep people like me in place. Expenses grow faster than my income, and there's no clear way out. I've been trying to advance in my career, looking for better paying jobs, even going back to school part-time to upskill. But with the rising cost of education and living expenses, it feels like an uphill battle with no end in sight. Every opportunity seems to come with more risks or upfront costs I can't cover. Emotionally, it wears me down. Some nights, I lie awake worrying about how I'll pay rent next month or what I'll do if my car breaks down. The stress affects my relationships too. I avoid telling my friends when I can't join them for dinner or events because I'm embarrassed and don't want to be a downer. That isolation feeds the loneliness, and sometimes it's overwhelming. But despite all this, I still hold on to hope. I dream of a future where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, where I can save a little for myself and maybe even afford a small place of my own. I want to travel again, see new places without checking my bank balance every 5 minutes. I want to feel secure enough to start thinking about long-term goals, like retirement or starting a family, without panic. For now, I cope by focusing on small victories. When I manage to save $20, it feels like a win. When I make it through the month without an emergency expense, I celebrate silently. I try to find moments of joy that don't cost money, a walk in the park, a call with an old friend, cooking a new recipe at home. I remind myself that my worth isn't tied to my bank balance, even if the world makes it feel that way. I wish more people understood what it's like to live this way, not out of laziness or bad choices, but because the economic environment has shifted under our feet. It's not just about me being careful or disciplined, it's about systemic challenges that squeeze us from every angle. I hope sharing this story helps others see that behind every struggling young adult is a person doing their best to keep afloat in a world that's changing faster than they can keep up. One day, I believe I'll get there. but until then, I'm just trying to survive, one day at a time. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27, like I'm drowning, but not in water. It's more like sinking in quicksand made of bills, rent, groceries, and every little expense that somehow always finds a way to multiply, no matter how hard I try to hold on. The truth is, it feels like the world is moving faster than I can keep up, and I'm stuck in this relentless loop where my paycheck never stretches far enough. Every morning, I wake up and the first thing on my mind is the budget. Not in a distant, abstract way, but like an immediate, pressing reality. I lie in bed scrolling through my banking app, counting what's left after last month's expenses, just enough to cover rent and utilities, with a crumb or two left for food. Sometimes, that's not even enough. It's exhausting. I don't even get to enjoy the little pleasures anymore because they feel like luxuries I can't afford. I grew up hearing that hard work pays off, that if you just stay persistent, you'll get ahead. But what if the finish line keeps moving farther away? Inflation is this invisible monster eating away at every dollar I make. Rent has gone up again, 3 times since I moved into my tiny apartment 2 years ago. The grocery bills have doubled for the same items I used to buy. I try to cook at home to save money, but even that's a challenge because fresh produce and healthy food costs more, and sometimes I just want to eat something comforting without calculating the price. This pressure seeps into every choice I make. Do I take the bus or spend extra on an Uber because I'm too tired to stand? Do I buy that birthday gift for my friend or send a heartfelt card instead? Do I save a little for an emergency fund or pay off a looming credit card balance? There's always a catch, always a sacrifice. It's like playing a game where every move costs me something important. And it's not just the money. It's how this constant strain wears on my spirit. I feel anxious more days than not, that tight knot in my chest from knowing I'm one unexpected expense away from disaster. My sleep is restless because my mind won't stop running through worst-case scenarios. Social invitations come with a hidden cost I can't afford, so I say no more often than I want to. I isolate myself sometimes, not because I want to, but because I have to. Even reaching out for help feels complicated when pride and the stigma around money struggles get in the way. I postponed dreams too many times to count. I wanted to travel after college, see new places and meet new people, but the ticket prices alone were out of reach. I dreamed about going back to school, maybe getting a master's degree, but tuition fees and living costs make that impossible right now. I even put off taking care of my health properly because medical copays and prescriptions feel like unaffordable luxuries. It's heartbreaking to shelve parts of myself like that, to keep telling my heart, not now. Maybe someday. Coping isn't easy. I've tried to find small ways to reclaim control, like budgeting apps, meal prepping, or side gigs that nibble at my time and energy. Sometimes I journal, just to get the weight off my chest. Other times, I just breathe deeply and remind myself I'm not alone in this, even if it feels that way. There are moments of gratitude, like a kind word from a friend or a simple meal that warms me up. Those moments are fragile but precious. Most days, I hope. I hold on to the hope that someday the system won't feel like a trap, that income might finally grow faster than expenses, or that I'll find a way to break free from this grind. I hope for stability, a small apartment I don't have to fear losing, a job that pays enough to breathe easier, the chance to dream out loud again. Maybe someday, I'll look back and see this chapter not as a defeat, but as a fight I survived. Until then, I keep going. One day at a time. One paycheck stretched as far as it can go. One small hope that maybe the future still holds something better. I wake up every morning feeling like I'm already behind. Not in a late for work kind of way, but in this deeper, gnawing sense that no matter what I do, I'm constantly running a race I can't win. The bills, the rent, groceries, the little things that pile up until they're a mountain crushing me from all sides. And all the while, my paycheck just stretches thinner and thinner, like some kind of cruel joke. It's not that I don't work hard. I have a full-time job, one that pays me a modest wage, but it feels like the cost of living is a tidal wave that just keeps rising. I hear about inflation on the news, rising gas prices, rent increases, and every time I think I'm catching up, I get swept back down. It's exhausting. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning in numbers $1 $200 rent, $400 groceries, $150 utilities, $80 phone bill, $200 gas for the car, and those are just the basics. Then there's the car insurance, the medical copays, the occasional emergency expenses that sneak in unannounced like bad guests. What really stings is how little room there is for anything else. The things I used to dream about, traveling, saving for a house, even going out to dinner with friends without second-guessing every cent, those all seem like distant, fragile hopes. It's like I'm stuck in this loop where expenses rise faster than my income can grow, and there's no end in sight. I've had to get creative just to make it through. Coupon clipping, meal prepping on weekends so I don't waste money on takeout, turning off lights in rooms I'm not in, and learning the exact temperatures to set my thermostat so I'm not bleeding money on heating and cooling. I check my bank account obsessively, like staring at the numbers might somehow make them grow. Spoiler, it doesn't. Emotionally, it's draining. There's a constant hum of anxiety under everything I do. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed because the weight of money stress feels like a physical ache in my chest. I feel isolated too. It's hard to explain to friends or family that you can't just go out and have fun, when that fun might mean spending $30 you just don't have. Invitations start to feel like reminders of what you're missing rather than opportunities to connect. There's also this gnawing shame. Society tells you that if you just worked harder or smarter, you'd be okay. But the truth is, I am working hard. Maybe not harder than anyone else, but enough that I'm exhausted and still struggling. Sometimes I worry I'm failing at adulthood, even though I'm barely keeping my head above water. I've put so many dreams on hold. I used to want to travel, see new places, meet new people, expand my world beyond this small bubble of survival. I thought about going back to school to get a better degree, something that could maybe help me earn more someday. But between the cost of tuition, the lost income, and the burden of student loans I'm already wary of, it just feels like a luxury I can't afford right now. I remember when I first moved out on my own, I was so optimistic. I had plans and hopes, a vision for a life where I could slowly build stability and then maybe take a breath. But that vision feels further away every day. Instead, I'm making choices like, do I fix the leaky faucet now or wait and hope it doesn't get worse? Can I afford to buy new shoes, or will that mean skipping meals later in the week? Should I skip that doctor's appointment because I can't handle another bill? I cope by trying to find small moments of peace, watching a favorite show, reading a book from the library, cooking something homemade and comforting. Sometimes I write in my journal, just to get the feelings out of my head. Therapy helps when I can afford it, but even then, it's a balancing act to prioritize my mental health alongside financial survival. What keeps me going is the hope that this isn't permanent. That one day, maybe, the economy will shift, wages will rise, and the cost of living won't feel like a cliff I'm teetering on the edge of. I imagine a future where I don't have to count every penny or sleep with a pit of anxiety in my stomach. A future where I can save money, not just pay off debt or bills. A future where I can look back and say, I made it through. But that future feels distant, sometimes almost unreachable. And so, day by day, I keep moving forward. I remind myself that survival is a form of strength, even if it doesn't look like much to the outside world. I celebrate the small victories, paying rent on time, not overdrawing my account, making it through another week. I'm learning, too, that I'm not alone. Many people are feeling this pressure, trapped in the same system where expenses climb faster than incomes, where dreams are deferred indefinitely. That shared experience offers a kind of comfort, even if it doesn't fix the problem. In the quiet moments, when I let myself feel the full weight of it all, the fear is still there, fear that this cycle will never break, that I'll always be stuck here. But I also cling to the hope that it can. That with time, effort, and maybe a bit of luck, I can carve out a life where financial pressure isn't the defining feature. Where I'm not just surviving, but thriving. Until then, I keep going. One paycheck, one bill, one day at a time. It's a strange kind of exhaustion, The kind that isn't just physical but seeps deep into your bones, into your mind, and stretches across every part of your day. I wake up each morning already feeling behind, as if I'm running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. The numbers never quite add up, the bills never quite stop arriving, and the tiny sense of relief I manage to find is often snatched away by the reality of rent hikes, grocery prices, and those surprise expenses that have somehow become a regular feature of adult life. I'm 27, living in a small, cramped apartment that costs too much, working a job that pays just enough to cover the basics but not nearly enough to breathe freely. The economic environment feels like a tidal wave I'm always trying to swim against, but the current is relentless. Every month, my paycheck arrives and immediately begins its journey out the door: rent, utilities, groceries, a little left for transport. Sometimes there's a small buffer, a tiny glimmer of possibility to save, but more often than not, something unexpected, a broken appliance, a car repair, a medical bill, pulls me right back down into the cycle. It's frustrating and humiliating in ways I didn't expect. I always thought if I worked hard, played by the rules, and stayed focused, I'd build a steady life, maybe a home of my own someday, or at least the freedom to travel a bit or indulge in the little pleasures I used to dream about. But instead, it feels like the cost of living grows faster than my paycheck, and that gap keeps stretching wider and wider. Prices rise for everything: groceries, gas, rent, healthcare, but my income barely moves. Inflation feels like a cruel joke when you're trying to keep your head above water. I watch my friends buy cars, move into nicer apartments, start businesses, or go back to school, and I feel stuck. Like I'm trapped in this endless loop where every step forward costs 2 steps back. The weight of this pressure seeps into everything. I catch myself stressing about the most mundane things. Should I buy the generic brand to save $1? Can I skip lunch again today and just eat from home? Should I hold off on seeing a doctor because I can't afford the copay? These choices, which once felt trivial, now feel monumental. It's exhausting to always have to think like this, to live with the constant background hum of anxiety about money. Emotionally, it's a slow drain. There are days I feel hopeless, like I'm never going to get ahead, like I'm living in a system that's designed to keep people like me struggling. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-blame, wondering if I'm just not working hard enough, not being smart enough, not making the right choices. But the truth is, I know I'm doing everything I can. The system itself is stacked against me. And admitting that feels vulnerable, like I'm admitting I'm caught in a machine that doesn't care if I succeed or not. To cope, I've developed a few survival strategies. I budget obsessively, tracking every dollar, every cent. I try to find joy in the small things: a walk in the park, a good book from the library, cooking a nice meal at home instead of eating out. I lean on friends when I can, though I often hesitate to talk about money because it's such a loaded topic and I don't want to seem like I'm complaining or burdening anyone. Sometimes, I just sit quietly and breathe, reminding myself that this moment, too, will pass. Despite the pressure, I haven't given up on my dreams, not completely. I still want to travel, to see the world beyond my city, to experience different cultures and places. I dream of buying a small home someday, with a garden and enough space to breathe. I want to have a career that feels meaningful, not just a paycheck, something that lets me grow and contribute in a way that feels fulfilling. But these dreams have been pushed further and further away, postponed indefinitely as I focus on survival. It hurts to put those dreams on hold. Sometimes, it feels like I'm living in a kind of suspended animation, where I'm waiting for the right moment that might never come. I remind myself that things change, that economies shift, that opportunities can come unexpectedly. But that doesn't erase the loneliness of feeling stuck, the frustration of feeling like time is slipping by while I tread water. Every now and then, I try to remind myself of small wins: a month where I managed to save a bit, a job interview that went well, a compliment from a friend. Those moments are sparks, tiny lights in the dark that remind me I'm not invisible, that I matter, that there is hope. But it's hard to hold on to those sparks when the pressure is constant. Living with this ongoing financial strain feels like walking a tightrope over a deep chasm. One misstep, a missed paycheck, an emergency expense, and everything could fall apart. The fear of that fall keeps me awake at night, second-guessing every choice, every dollar spent. Yet, somehow, I keep moving forward. Because giving up isn't an option, even when the system seems designed to keep me down. This story isn't unique, though sometimes it feels painfully isolating. There are so many people out here juggling similar struggles, caught in the same economic squeeze, trying to survive and find meaning. I hope by sharing this, someone out there might feel less alone, and maybe those who hold power might understand a little more about what it's like on this side of the ledger. I don't know exactly how I'll get through this, but I keep hoping. Hope that someday the weight will lift, that I'll find a way to break free, that my dreams won't have to wait forever. Until then, I'm learning to be patient with myself, to find gratitude where I can, and to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when it's hard. Because at the end of the day, even in the thickest fog of financial pressure, there's still a flicker of something worth holding on to, the belief that a better life is possible. I never thought I'd be here, caught in this endless cycle of barely making ends meet, feeling like the walls are closing in, and wondering if I'll ever break free. It's like every month, I'm handed a new set of bills that have somehow grown bigger overnight, while my paycheck stubbornly stays the same, or worse, doesn't stretch nearly as far. The economic world around me keeps shifting, and somehow, I'm stuck trying to keep up but always falling behind. Some mornings, I wake up with this sinking feeling in my chest. It's not quite panic, but it's close, a heavy weight that settles before my feet even hit the floor. I know I have to get through the day, but the numbers in my head start racing immediately: rent, utilities, groceries, gas. Then the smaller ones that add up: phone bill, internet, the student loan payment that seems designed to haunt me forever. I can't even think about treating myself without a sinking guilt gnawing at me. A coffee with a friend? Maybe next month. New clothes? Only if something rips or stains beyond repair. That feeling of not enough has become my constant companion. It's strange how this pressure doesn't just squeeze my wallet, but my spirit too. I used to dream big. I wanted to travel, to save up for a place of my own, maybe even start a small business. Those dreams don't disappear, but they get shoved to the back of my mind, like a book gathering dust on a forgotten shelf. I remind myself daily that this is temporary, but temporary has stretched into years now. Every time I think I might catch a break, something else rises: gas prices spike, rent hikes again, medical bills from an unexpected illness. It feels like a rigged game where the rules keep changing against me. One of the hardest parts is the isolation. People don't always see what I'm juggling. When friends plan dinners or weekend getaways, I smile and say I can't make it, even though I'm desperate to join. It's not just the money, it's the fear of admitting that I'm barely holding it together. I don't want to be a burden or feel judged for my bad money management or lack of ambition. But the truth is, I work hard. I do all the things they say you're supposed to do: budgeting, cutting back, side gigs, but it's never quite enough. The system is like a tide pulling me under no matter how much I thrash. At work, I see people moving ahead, buying homes, upgrading cars, or starting families. I want that too, but it feels so far away. I'm stuck in a tiny apartment that's more expensive than it should be, in a neighborhood that doesn't feel safe or welcoming. When my landlord raises the rent, I swallow hard and think about cutting back somewhere else, maybe groceries, maybe skipping a doctor's visit. The constant balancing act wears me down. I've started to dread opening mail or checking my bank account. Every notification feels like a mini heart attack. Coping has become an art form. I keep a small notebook where I write down daily gratitudes, things like a good conversation with a coworker or the kindness of a stranger at the grocery store. It helps me hold on to a sense of hope, even on days when the weight feels unbearable. I also try to find joy in simple things: walking in the park, listening to music, or cooking a meal from scratch because it's cheaper and sometimes therapeutic. But there are nights when the loneliness crashes in, and I cry quietly, scared that this is as good as it gets. I talk to a few close friends about it, and it helps, just knowing I'm not alone. But even then, I sometimes feel like I'm putting on a mask. How do you explain the fear of not having enough when everyone around you is struggling in their own ways? It's like an invisible battle that only those in the trenches really understand. I wish there was a way to change the narrative, to feel like my hard work actually leads somewhere instead of just patching holes in a sinking ship. Looking ahead, I'm scared but still clinging to hope. I want to believe that if I keep pushing, keep being careful, one day I'll get a break. I dream of a life where money isn't the first thing I think about every morning, a life where I can plan a vacation without fear, where I can afford a home with a little garden, where I'm not just surviving but thriving. It's a fragile hope, but it's mine. For now, I'll keep walking this tightrope. I'll celebrate small victories, like making it through the month without going into overdraft, or finding a free event to enjoy with friends. I'll keep reminding myself that I'm more than my bank balance, that my worth isn't tied to my paycheck. But I also won't lie, sometimes, it feels like the system has me trapped, with expenses growing faster than I can earn, and that's a lonely, exhausting place to be. Sometimes I feel like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up every day, and no matter how fast I push myself, I never get anywhere. The financial pressure I'm under feels like this invisible weight pressing down on me, constant, exhausting, impossible to shake off. I'm in my mid-20s, working a decent job, but somehow, it never seems to be enough. The bills pile up faster than my paycheck grows, and I'm stuck juggling rent, groceries, utilities, student loans, and the little things that sneak up on me, like car repairs or unexpected medical expenses. It's like living in a storm that never lets up. I remember when I first moved out on my own, full of hope and excitement. I thought, this is it. I'm finally free, building my own life. But freedom quickly felt more like a cage. Rent kept going up, way beyond any raise I got. Every month, I had to make impossible choices. Do I pay the full credit card bill, or buy groceries that won't leave me hungry by the weekend? Should I skip the doctor's appointment or spend money on replacing my worn-out shoes? These decisions aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They weigh on me, shape how I feel about myself, and sometimes, they crush my spirit. Some mornings, I wake up with a knot in my stomach because I'm not sure if I'll make it through the month without scraping by on borrowed money or overdraft fees. There's this gnawing anxiety that never quite goes away, a dull ache in my chest that says, you're barely holding on. And it's not just about survival. It's about the fact that I work hard, I show up every day, but the system seems rigged so that I can't get ahead. I watch the prices of everything, from rent to food to gas, climb higher while my paycheck stays stubbornly flat. It's frustrating and humiliating to feel like no matter what I do, I'm falling behind. Sometimes, I catch myself scrolling through social media and seeing people traveling, buying new gadgets, or just living life without a care. It stings because those things aren't luxuries, they're the life I thought I'd have by now. I used to dream about owning a home, traveling to new countries, or even just having the financial freedom to take a weekend off without stressing about money. Now, those dreams feel distant, like fading stars on a cloudy night. I've had to postpone so many hopes, going back to school to finish a degree, saving up to start my own small business, even simple things like buying a new laptop to improve my work. Each postponed dream chips away at my confidence. It's hard to stay motivated when every step forward seems to require more resources than I have. The system doesn't reward persistence, it punishes it. It's this slow grind that wears you down, making you question whether you're capable or just unlucky. Emotionally, this constant pressure is a heavy load. I try to stay optimistic, but there are nights when the anxiety turns into despair. I worry about my future. What if things never improve? What if I'm trapped in this cycle forever? These fears sometimes make it hard to sleep or focus at work. I have to remind myself to breathe, to reach out to friends or family, but even that's hard because I don't want to burden anyone with my struggles. Coping means finding small pockets of relief wherever I can. I've become really good at budgeting, clipping coupons, and cooking meals from scratch. I take long walks to clear my head instead of spending money on entertainment. I've learned to say no to invitations because even small expenses can throw me off balance. It's lonely sometimes, feeling like I'm missing out on life, but I also know I'm not alone. So many people are feeling the same pinch, caught in an economic squeeze that doesn't seem to have an easy solution. Despite it all, I still hold on to hope, fragile but real. I believe that this isn't the end of my story. I'm trying to build resilience, to find ways to improve my situation even if progress feels slow. I'm learning to be kinder to myself, to recognize that surviving in this environment is a form of strength. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see that these struggles shaped me, made me resourceful and determined. For now, I keep moving forward, one day, one paycheck, one choice at a time. The treadmill keeps speeding up, but I'm still running. And I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, the pace will slow, and I'll find space to breathe, to dream again without fear. This is my reality, honest, vulnerable, and full of quiet battles fought behind closed doors. But it's also my story, and I'm telling it because maybe, just maybe, it'll remind someone else they're not alone in feeling trapped by a system that demands so much and gives so little in return. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I don't remember the last time I felt truly free, not just in a fleeting weekend kind of way, but free in the deep, unshakable sense that everything was going to be okay. Maybe I never really felt it to begin with, or maybe life just has a way of squeezing that freedom out, bit by bit, until all that's left is a thin line between surviving and collapsing. At 27, I feel like I'm stuck in a loop, watching expenses balloon like some uncatchable storm, while my paycheck barely whispers in protest. It's exhausting. I wake up every morning with this knot in my stomach, a kind of dull ache that starts slow but doesn't let up. It's the awareness that today is just another day where the math never adds up in my favor. Rent is higher than last year. Groceries cost more. Utilities, insurance, gas, all these things creeping up like shadows, reaching for every dollar I have. And me? I'm still on the same salary I started with 3 years ago. A tiny raise here and there, but nowhere near enough to keep pace with the rising costs. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs feel like they're made of lead. Some mornings, I stare at my bank app, scrolling and scrolling, trying to convince myself there's a mistake, that somehow, maybe, a larger balance will appear if I just look hard enough. But there's not. Just numbers that don't cover what I owe. I've learned to live by the calendar, rent due this day, utilities that day, credit card bills scattered through the weeks. I budget like a tightrope walker, measuring each step with trembling hands. I buy the cheapest groceries, skip meals sometimes, refuse nights out, and still, there are weeks when I have to choose between filling the tank or paying a bill. It feels like a game rigged from the start. There's this constant background noise of worry in my head, like static that never quite turns off. It gnaws at me during the quiet moments, when I'm alone with my thoughts, trying to sleep, or just sitting on the couch after a long day. Sometimes it swells into panic, the kind that tightens my chest and makes my hands shake. I lie awake, calculating the cost of tomorrow, the week after, wondering if I'll get a small break or if the cycle will just keep spinning faster. I remember when I was younger, my dreams felt vivid and within reach. I wanted to travel, to see new places, maybe live abroad for a while. I dreamed of going back to school, maybe getting a degree in something I loved, or starting a little side business. I wanted to save for a future where money wasn't the only thing defining me. But all those dreams got pushed further and further down the line. Maybe next year, I tell myself. But next year never seems to come. There's always an emergency, a surprise expense, or just the steady increase of everyday costs that snatches those dreams away. It's frustrating because I work hard. I show up every day, I'm reliable, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, yet it feels like the system is designed to keep people like me in place, always struggling, never catching up. Sometimes I feel invisible, like a cog in some enormous machine that cares more about profit margins than the people turning the wheels. The world talks about growth and opportunity, but that growth is a tide that lifts only some boats, while others keep sinking. I don't want to sound hopeless. I still get moments of hope. Sometimes I find small pockets of joy, a phone call with a friend, a sunset on my walk home, a new book to escape into. Those moments remind me that life isn't all about money, even if it feels that way most of the time. I try to hold on to those small lights because they keep me going when the weight feels unbearable. Coping with all this has been a journey in itself. At first, I tried to ignore it, hoping it would pass, but financial stress doesn't wait for you to catch up. Eventually, I started tracking every expense obsessively, setting strict limits, cutting anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. I read about budgeting, about side hustles, about investing. Some days, the weight of it feels lighter because I feel like I'm taking control, but other days it's overwhelming, like I'm drowning in numbers and deadlines. Talking about this with others is hard. I don't want to be a burden or sound like I'm complaining. People tell me it'll get better, or just keep trying, which is true, but it also feels like empty words when you're in the thick of it. The silence around financial struggles can be lonely, like admitting you're drowning means you're weak, even though everyone is swimming against the same current. Sometimes, I think about what freedom really means. Is it the absence of worry about money? The ability to pursue your passions without hesitation? Or just the quiet confidence that you'll be okay, no matter what? I want that. I want to believe it's possible. I want to believe that if I keep pushing, something will shift. But in the meantime, the pressure feels relentless, a heavy fog that colors every choice, what I eat, where I go, who I spend time with. I wonder how many others feel this way, caught in the same squeeze, fighting to breathe in a world that's speeding past them. I want to hold on to the hope that someday, maybe, the system will bend to include people like me, that the cost of living will slow down, or that my income will finally catch up. Until then, I'll keep waking up with that knot in my stomach, trying to find the courage to face another day, one careful step at a time. I never thought I'd end up feeling like this, like I'm caught in a current I can't swim against. Every month feels like running a race with no finish line, and the harder I run, the further away it gets. The prices of everything keep climbing, but my paycheck? It barely budges. It's like living in a house that's slowly sinking, and no matter how much I patch the cracks or bail out the water, it's still flooding. I'm 27 now, working full-time in a job I like well enough but that will never make me rich, or even comfortably middle class. When I graduated college, I thought I'd have more control. I had this image in my head: get a job, pay my bills, maybe save up a little, and then start living my life. But reality hit fast. Rent went up before I even signed the lease. Groceries, utilities, gas, they all seemed to climb every single month. And then there were the surprise expenses, a medical bill here, a car repair there. Nothing huge, but enough to push me back every time I thought I was getting ahead. I try to keep track of everything, every cent that goes out, every dollar that comes in, but it's exhausting. I have to decide between eating a little less this week or skipping a social outing. It's these small, everyday choices that weigh on me more than I thought they would. I used to love going out with friends, trying new restaurants, catching a movie. Now I spend hours comparing prices at the grocery store or scrolling through sale ads. It's like my world has shrunk, and every decision feels like a test I'm failing. The emotional toll is something I didn't expect. There are days I wake up with a tightness in my chest, a quiet anxiety I can't shake. I lie awake at night wondering how long I can keep this up. The future I imagine seems so far away, like a place I might never reach. I watch friends talk about buying homes, traveling, starting families, and I want those things too. But the weight of this financial pressure feels like a chain around my ankles, holding me back. I sometimes feel embarrassed, even ashamed. Like I should be doing better or managing money smarter. But the truth is, no matter how careful I am, it never feels enough. Bills pile up, and the idea of emergency savings feels like a cruel joke. I worry about what happens if something big breaks down, my car, my health, or worse. The thought makes me want to retreat, but I know I can't afford to. To cope, I've had to develop some strange little habits. I keep a notebook where I jot down my expenses and savings goals. I follow frugal blogs and watch budgeting videos online, anything to feel like I have a handle on this. When things get really tough, I allow myself small rewards, a cup of coffee, a cheap treat, to remind myself that life isn't just about surviving. Still, those moments are fleeting, and often followed by guilt. Some nights, I let myself dream, even though it hurts. I imagine having enough money to move somewhere bigger, to travel, to finally buy a laptop that doesn't crash every hour. I picture a life where I'm not constantly worried about what I can't afford, where I can say yes to things without hesitation. Those dreams feel fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a table. I tuck them away carefully, knowing I have to be realistic. But beneath all the worry and frustration, there's a stubborn hope. Maybe it's naive, but I believe there's a way out, if I can keep pushing, keep learning, keep finding small victories. I remind myself that this financial pressure isn't a reflection of my worth. It's a system that's designed to keep people like me on the edge, always struggling. And maybe one day, the current will ease, and I'll find myself swimming forward instead of fighting to stay afloat. Until then, I keep moving. I try to find moments of joy in the chaos. I hold on to the hope that my dreams, postponed as they are, haven't been lost forever. This isn't just about money, it's about finding peace in a life that feels like it's constantly pulling me in different directions. It's about learning to breathe, even when the weight feels unbearable. So here I am, still trying, still hoping. Even if it's hard to see the light sometimes, I know I'm not alone in this. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to keep me going for now. I remember the first time I felt truly trapped by money wasn't when I lost a paycheck or missed a bill. It was a slow, creeping realization, like the pressure of a tightening vice around my chest that never quite loosens. I'm 27 now, and for years it's felt like I'm stuck in this endless loop. My expenses creep up, inch by inch, while my income barely budges. Each month, the math becomes more desperate, and I find myself making choices I never imagined I'd have to make. I grew up thinking that if I worked hard enough, I could carve out a decent life, pay rent, eat well, maybe even save a little for something bigger down the road. But here I am, juggling bills, rent, groceries, and the invisible cost of just trying to keep my head above water. Every decision feels like a compromise, like I'm constantly giving something up. I remember opening the electricity bill last month, heart sinking because it was higher than usual. I debated whether to keep the heat on or layer up in the cold just to save a few dollars. It sounds trivial, but that moment sums up a lot of what this feels like, having to ration basic things that most people take for granted. The economic environment makes everything feel like an uphill climb. Rent in my city has skyrocketed. When I moved here 2 years ago, I thought I was getting a decent deal on a tiny apartment. Now, I spend nearly half my income just to keep a roof over my head, and I don't even have any luxury in that space, no fancy amenities, no space for hobbies, just 4 walls and a bed. The rest of my expenses, transportation, food, insurance, keep growing too, and it feels like there's no escape. What's worse is how this financial pressure gnaws at my emotional well-being. I've noticed the shift in my mood, the anxiety that tightens my chest when I check my bank account or open an unexpected bill. I try to hide it, but some nights the worry keeps me awake. I feel isolated, even though I'm surrounded by friends and family. It's hard to talk about this without feeling judged or like I'm complaining, especially when others seem to have it worse or better. I want to be honest, but I'm scared I'll sound like I'm whining or being irresponsible. Sometimes I wonder if this is how it's supposed to be, that no matter how hard I try, the system is designed so that people like me are always just scraping by. It's a feeling of being caught in a current that pulls me backward whenever I try to swim forward. I want to believe that if I keep working hard, things will get better, but the rising cost of living and stagnant wages keep telling a different story. There are small ways I try to cope. I've become a master of budgeting, tracking every penny I spend. I cook meals at home instead of eating out, even when I'm exhausted. I skip social events sometimes, not because I don't want to go, but because I can't afford it. I've learned to say no, even when it hurts, because my finances demand it. Yet, these little victories often feel like survival tactics rather than progress. My dreams, big, bright dreams I used to have quietly faded into the background. I used to imagine traveling, maybe starting my own business, going back to school to study something I'm passionate about. Those plans feel like luxuries now, distant stars I can't reach. I've had to postpone going back to college, delaying professional certifications, even putting off seeing a therapist I desperately need because every dollar has to be stretched. It hurts to let go of those dreams, but it's also a defense mechanism. I tell myself it's temporary, that someday I'll have the freedom to chase them again. I'm not alone in feeling this way. I see others around me dealing with the same struggles, friends working multiple jobs, people delaying milestones like buying a home or starting a family. It's a collective exhaustion, a quiet crisis that doesn't get enough attention. What keeps me going is the hope that this moment isn't my forever. I try to find small pockets of joy, an evening walk, a good book, a phone call with a friend. These moments remind me there's more to life than numbers and bills. Writing this down feels like a release, a way to give voice to something I often keep bottled up. I want to believe that being honest about these struggles is the first step toward breaking free from them. Maybe one day, the economic tides will shift, and I'll look back on this time not just as a season of hardship, but as the moment I learned resilience. For now, I'm still here, holding on, one day at a time, hoping for better. I never thought I'd find myself stuck in this kind of endless loop, the kind where every month feels like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how hard I try, I'm just not keeping pace. I'm 26, working full-time, and yet, somehow, I'm constantly behind. I don't want to sound dramatic, but it's the truth. The bills keep piling up, the paycheck stays the same, and my dreams keep slipping further out of reach. I grew up believing that if you worked hard, things would eventually get easier. My parents always told me, be responsible, save a little, and you'll be fine. But what I'm seeing now is so different from that story. The rent in my city has doubled since I moved out 3 years ago. Utilities, groceries, transportation, everything is inching upward, inching faster than the raise I got at work, if I'm lucky to get one at all. And then there are the unexpected expenses, a broken phone, a car repair, medical copays, that hit me like punches when I'm already gasping for air. Every morning, I wake up with this low, nagging anxiety. Not a full-blown panic attack, but enough to make me check my bank app more times than I should. It's almost a ritual now. See the balance. Calculate what's coming out next. Recalculate after realizing I forgot to factor in the surge in my grocery bill this month. Then try to figure out if I can squeeze in a bit of fun without risking overdraft fees or falling behind on a payment. More often than not, the answer is no. There's a heaviness that builds up in my chest when I think about the future. I used to dream big, traveling the world, going back to school for a master's, buying a little apartment of my own one day. I thought those things would happen naturally once I settled into a steady career. Now, those dreams feel like luxuries I can't afford. I put off enrolling in any classes because tuition is a monster I can't tame. I cancel plans with friends because even a $20 dinner feels like a reckless splurge. And traveling? I haven't been on a plane in over 5 years. The system feels like it's built to keep me here, on this financial hamster wheel. I make just enough to cover the essentials, but nothing beyond that. Credit cards are a tempting escape, but I'm terrified of digging deeper into debt. Every time I think about borrowing, I'm reminded of the interest rates that will balloon what I owe into something unmanageable. So I just tighten my belt instead, which means cutting out the small things that used to bring me joy. Coffee dates, new clothes, even the occasional book or movie. Some days, it's hard not to feel invisible, like I'm just a cog in a machine that doesn't care whether I succeed or fail. I see news stories about the economy, about growth and prosperity, but none of that trickles down to people like me. It feels like a rigged game where the rules are changing every few months, and the prize is always just out of reach. Emotionally, it's exhausting. I get frustrated with myself for not being able to figure it out, for not making better choices, even though I know I'm doing everything I can. I have a few close friends who understand, and sometimes we share stories of how we're barely scraping by, but even then, it's hard not to feel ashamed. There's a stigma to financial struggle that makes me want to keep it all hidden, like it's a personal failure rather than a symptom of a broken system. To cope, I've started small rituals. Journaling my expenses and wins each week, no matter how small, helps me feel a little bit in control. I meditate, even if just for 5 minutes, to calm the anxiety that creeps in. And I try to remind myself that this isn't forever, even when it feels that way. I seek out online communities where others share their struggles, and that solidarity is oddly comforting. I'm not alone in this, even if it feels isolating. But the hardest part is holding on to hope. Some nights, I lie awake imagining what my life could be if I had the financial freedom to make different choices. To wake up and not dread the next bill. To invest in myself and my future. To finally start saving for a place I can call my own. Those dreams keep me going, even if they feel distant. I don't know when or how things will change. Maybe it'll be a promotion, a lucky break, or just the economy shifting in my favor. Or maybe I'll have to keep fighting and scraping for a long time before I can breathe easy. But despite the exhaustion and the fear, I haven't given up. I'm still here, still trying, still hoping. Because even if the system seems designed to hold me back, I want to believe that with persistence, with resilience, I'll find a way forward. For now, I take it one day at a time, managing expenses, managing emotions, managing the overwhelming weight of it all. Some days I succeed, some days I just survive. But through it all, I keep dreaming, because without that, what else is there? I wake up every morning with this heavy weight on my chest, even before my feet touch the floor. It's the same feeling I've had for the past few years, like I'm trapped in a cage that's slowly closing in on me. The bars are invisible, but every day they feel more real. It's the pressure of money, or more accurately, the lack of it. The economy around me keeps shifting, always to the worse side of things, and I'm stuck trying to keep my head above water. I'm 26, and I remember a time when I thought adulthood would be different. Growing up, I imagined having the freedom to travel, maybe live in a cozy apartment with plants everywhere, a little weekend getaway now and then, and the luxury of choosing to work on projects I cared about. But that picture feels more like a distant dream now. Instead, I'm caught in this endless loop of figuring out how to pay rent, utilities, and the bills that never stop coming, while trying to make sure there's still something left for food and essentials. The strangest part is that my income has barely moved in years. I work full-time, sometimes extra shifts when I can get them, but my paycheck never seems to stretch as far as it used to. Rent keeps creeping up, last year it went up again, and I just swallowed the increase because moving isn't an option right now. Moving means deposits, fees, new furniture, or at least something to make a new place livable, and all that upfront cost is just impossible to manage. Then there's groceries, prices seem to jump every time I step into the store. I catch myself comparing prices, putting back things I want or need because the price tag is just too high. It's exhausting, this constant balancing act. Some days, I try to remind myself I'm lucky to have a job at all. But that thought doesn't make the panic go away when I open a bill or check my bank account and see just how little is left. Sometimes, I lie awake at night, imagining what it would feel like to have money that's not just enough to survive but enough to breathe. To not have to second-guess every decision. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I used to want to go back to school and get a degree in something I'm passionate about, but tuition fees are sky-high, and taking on more debt terrifies me. I thought about starting my own business one day, something small and meaningful, but even that seems impossible when I'm struggling just to keep up with day-to-day expenses. I miss the idea of investing in myself, but now, investment just means paying for repairs or replacing things that break. Social life has taken a hit, too. I say no to invitations because I can't afford to eat out or go to events. It's lonely sometimes, and I feel embarrassed when friends talk about their vacations or new gadgets. I'm proud of what I managed to do, like cooking meals from scratch to save money or finding little free activities to enjoy. But even those small wins come with a quiet sadness because they remind me how limited my options are. The system feels rigged. Inflation runs wild, prices rise, wages lag behind, and the safety nets feel threadbare. I'm working harder than ever but feeling poorer. It's a paradox that leaves me questioning if I'm doing something wrong or if this is just the reality for a lot of people like me. I see others around me getting ahead, buying homes, saving for the future, while I'm stuck in this loop where expenses always outpace income. I try to cope in small ways: mindfulness, gratitude, focusing on moments of joy like a good book or a walk in the park. But the stress lingers beneath everything. I'm afraid of what happens if something unexpected comes up: a medical bill, car repair, or losing a job. There's no cushion, no backup plan. Yet, I hold on to hope. It's fragile but real. I dream of the day when I'll feel secure enough to stop counting every penny, to start building a life instead of just surviving it. I want to believe there's a way out of this cycle. Sometimes, I think about moving somewhere with a lower cost of living or finding a career path that pays better, but those steps feel overwhelming and risky. For now, I take it one day at a time. I try to be gentle with myself when I mess up or feel overwhelmed. This struggle has changed me. It's made me resourceful, resilient, and painfully aware of the world's inequalities. But it's also made me scared. Scared that no matter how hard I work, the system will keep moving faster than I can keep up. Sharing this feels like pulling back a curtain I usually keep closed. Because admitting this kind of struggle isn't easy. It's not glamorous. It's messy and raw. But maybe if I say it out loud, if I write it down, it can lighten the load just a little. Maybe someone else feels the same and knows they're not alone. This isn't just about money. It's about dignity, about feeling like my future matters, and about wanting to live a life that isn't ruled by constant anxiety. I don't have all the answers, but I'm still here, still hoping for something better. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning, and the water keeps rising no matter how hard I paddle. I wake up each morning to the same heavy weight pressing down on my chest, the kind of pressure that doesn't come from one thing but from every little expense, every missed opportunity, and every quiet worry about what tomorrow will bring. I'm 26, working a decent job, and yet I feel like I'm stuck in this endless loop where money slips through my fingers faster than I can earn it. The economy, the rising rent, the climbing grocery bills, the endless unexpected expenses, it's like a tide dragging me under. When I was a kid, I dreamed big. I wanted to travel, to go back to school, to maybe start a business someday. But as I got older, reality started to weigh in with cold, hard facts. College loans, bills, car payments, insurance, these aren't just words, they're chains that bind. Every paycheck I get is immediately parceled out to necessities, and somehow the necessities keep expanding. It's not like I'm careless with money. I track every cent, I skip nights out, I cook at home even when I'm exhausted. Yet, somehow, the balance never tips in my favor. I remember the first time I realized this wasn't just a temporary setback but a structural problem. I was trying to save for a little vacation, just a simple weekend away to clear my head, and the numbers just wouldn't add up. Rent went up again, my car needed an oil change and some repairs, and groceries seemed to cost more each week. I kept pushing the dream further out, promising myself that next month would be better. But next month was never better. It was just another month of trying to squeeze every dollar like it was the last drop of water in a desert. This feeling of being trapped is suffocating. It's not just the money, it's the loss of control. I see friends posting pictures of their new apartments, weekend getaways, or even just splurging on a nice meal. I want that, too. But instead, I'm choosing between paying the electric bill or buying medication when I get sick. The financial stress bleeds into every part of my life, my relationships, my sleep, even my self-worth. It's hard not to feel like a failure when you can't even meet the basic standards you set for yourself. At work, I try to focus, but my mind wanders to my mounting expenses. The barista asks if I want the extra shot in my coffee, and I have to say no, even though I crave the energy boost. I skip lunch sometimes, eating leftovers from home that are less than satisfying, just to save a few dollars. I'm constantly counting, measuring, planning. It's exhausting, and sometimes I feel like I'm running on empty. Coping with this reality takes a toll. I've had to develop a kind of armor, a mix of stubbornness and quiet resilience. I find small pockets of joy where I can, like long walks in the park or calling an old friend to hear a familiar voice. I write in a journal, spilling out all the frustration and fear, because sometimes words are the only place where I can be honest without feeling judged. Therapy helps, too, though even that feels like a luxury sometimes. But I cling to these things because without them, the financial pressure would swallow me whole. My family tries to be supportive, but they don't always understand. They remind me to be patient, to keep working hard, and that things will get better. But patience feels like a cruel joke when the cost of living climbs faster than my paycheck, when every month is a battle, and when the future looks more uncertain than ever. Sometimes I feel so isolated in this struggle, like I'm screaming inside but no one can hear me. Despite all this, I hold on to my dreams, even if they've been postponed, even if they seem distant. I still want to travel, to learn, to create something meaningful. I imagine a future where I'm not constantly stressed about money, where I can afford a little comfort, a little freedom. I picture myself waking up without that crushing anxiety in my chest, where my decisions aren't dictated solely by what I can afford. But these dreams feel fragile, and I'm scared that the longer I wait, the more they'll slip away. Sometimes I wonder how many others are feeling this same way, caught in this system where expenses rise faster than income, where hope feels like a luxury, and where financial pressure shapes every choice, every emotion, every day. It's a quiet kind of suffering, one that doesn't make headlines but is very real for so many of us. I'm tired, yes. But I'm still here. Still trying. Still hoping that maybe, someday, the tide will turn, that the water will stop rising, and I can finally breathe. Until then, I'll keep paddling, holding on to the belief that there's more to life than this struggle, that I'm more than my financial stress, and that my dreams are worth fighting for, even if they have to wait a little longer. Some days, I wake up and feel like I'm already behind before I've even gotten out of bed. It's that slow, sinking feeling, like I'm trying to run a race, but the track is made of quicksand, and every step forward pulls me deeper. I never thought I'd end up feeling this way. I always imagined that by the time I hit my mid-20s, I'd have some kind of stability, some solid footing in the world. Instead, it feels like the world is moving too fast and I'm stuck in place, caught in a grind that never ends. Money is the thread running through every part of my life right now, twisting and tightening until it feels like it's choking me. I work full-time, sometimes 2 jobs, and yet somehow the bills keep piling up faster than I can pay them. Rent goes up again, groceries feel like they cost twice as much as they did last year, and then there's the car that needs a repair I can't afford, but can't ignore either. Every month I make a budget, and every month it falls apart before the week is over. It's humiliating and exhausting. I feel like I'm failing, but I don't even know at what. I've learned to measure my days in small victories, making it to work on time, avoiding a late fee, finding a sale on something essential, or skipping my morning coffee so I can put that money toward gas. These are not the things I ever imagined I'd be proud of, but they're all I have some days. The economic environment isn't just numbers on paper. It's real and brutal, and it creeps into every choice I make. I've stopped dreaming about buying a house or going on vacation because those ideas feel like a cruel joke. Instead, my goals have shrunk to things like make rent without borrowing or don't call my mom for money this month. The stress is constant. I lie awake at night thinking about what happens if I get sick or my hours get cut. Sometimes it's so overwhelming I just shut down, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of all the what-ifs. I worry about what my future looks like, but mostly I worry about surviving today. I've never felt so trapped. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up while my legs get heavier. Sometimes, when I catch myself dreaming, it's painful. I remember when I wanted to study art or travel abroad or even just save enough for a new laptop. But those dreams feel like luxuries now, distant and impossible. I've put them all on hold indefinitely because the system we live in seems designed to keep people like me stuck. No matter how hard I work, the cost of living climbs faster than my paycheck. It's a slow, grinding injustice, and it's hard not to feel like the deck is stacked against me. Coping isn't easy. I try to find moments of joy where I can, watching sunsets, cooking simple meals that remind me of home, texting friends who understand without judging. Sometimes I write in a journal, trying to make sense of the chaos. Other times, I distract myself with TV or scrolling through social media, even though I know seeing other people's perfect lives only makes me feel worse. I'm learning to be gentle with myself on the bad days, but it's a constant battle against the shame and frustration. What keeps me going is hope, though it's fragile. I believe there has to be more than this. I still want to believe that if I keep pushing, keep trying, something will change. Maybe someday I'll find a job that pays better or a way out of this cycle. Maybe I'll reclaim those postponed dreams and build a life that feels like it's mine. For now, though, I'm just trying to survive, to hold on to some piece of dignity and self-worth in a system that feels designed to take it away. It's hard to explain what it's like to feel stuck between wanting to live and feeling like the world isn't built for you to thrive. But I'm here, I'm trying, and I'm still hoping, even if it's just a small flicker inside that keeps me moving forward. I remember when I first started working full-time, fresh out of college, I felt like the world was full of possibilities. I had a decent job, a small apartment that I could call my own, and just enough savings to feel like I was building a foundation. But somewhere along the way, that foundation started to crack. The cracks aren't sudden or dramatic, they're slow, almost invisible if you don't pay attention. But every month, the weight of them gets heavier. It feels like I'm trapped in a system where expenses rise faster than I can keep up. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, everything seems to creep up, inch by inch, while my income stays stubbornly the same. Sometimes I get a small raise, maybe a bonus if I'm lucky, but it's like throwing a drop of water into a bucket with a slow leak. No matter how much I pour in, it never fills up. There's a tightness in my chest every time I open my bank app. I try not to check it too often, because every glance reminds me of the balancing act I'm forced to perform. That moment of relief after paying bills, when there's a little money left over, is fleeting, replaced quickly by anxiety about the next month. I have dreams, of course. I want to travel, buy a home, maybe start a family someday. But those dreams feel distant, like stars I can see but can never reach. Some mornings, I wake up and feel the weight of this pressure before I even open my eyes. It's not just financial, it's emotional. The constant worry, the self-doubt creeping in when I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, or if the system is just designed to keep people like me stuck. I see my friends making progress, getting promotions, moving to nicer places, having the freedom to do things I can only watch from afar. I'm genuinely happy for them, but it also stings. I have to make choices every day that I never thought I'd have to. Skipping lunch because I can't afford to eat out, canceling plans with friends because the cost of socializing feels like a luxury, holding off on buying a new pair of shoes even though mine are worn through. These little sacrifices add up. They chip away at my sense of normalcy and sometimes make me feel invisible, like I'm living on the edge but no one notices. Coping with this pressure is its own challenge. I try to keep a sense of humor about it, even when the reality feels bleak. I journal sometimes, just pouring out my frustrations onto the page helps me feel less alone. Music is a refuge too. Some days, I lose myself in playlists that match the mood, whether it's angry, sad, or hopeful. I also talk to my family when I can, though I'm careful not to burden them. They have their own struggles, and I want to protect them from my worries. The thing is, I don't want to be defined by these financial struggles. I'm not just a paycheck or a list of expenses. I'm a person with passions, ideas, and a heart that still dares to hope. I hold on to the hope that one day, things will shift. Maybe it's a promotion, a new job, or some unexpected break. Or maybe it's just a slow, steady climb where I can finally feel like I'm moving forward instead of treading water. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what life could be if money wasn't this constant source of stress. I imagine waking up without that tight feeling in my chest, having the freedom to make choices based on what I want, not just what I can afford. I imagine finally booking that trip I've been dreaming of, decorating a space that feels truly mine, or even just going out for coffee with friends without counting every penny. For now, I hold on to those dreams quietly. I remind myself that this is not forever. That even if the system feels rigged, I have the strength to keep going, to find joy in the small moments, and to believe in a future where I'm not held back by numbers on a screen. It's not easy. Some days it feels impossible. But I'm still here, still trying, still hoping. And maybe that's enough for now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.